start this meeting up. And the first thing we're going to do is the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, fellow selectmen, did you guys have a chance to look at the public hearing, selectmen's meetings, budget hearing 1?
Yes.
You both did? Okay, so make a motion that we approve both of those meetings, the budget hearing and the public hearing. Anybody second? I'll second. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we're going to read these. That's something that I have to do.
One more?
Yeah. Thank you. All right. You did?
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Right, next up is we're going to have a little talk with the fire department. Fire department update. Jay, you want to give us that?
Did you, these guys get an updated
No.
on anything? So, you probably don't know, the storm, the weekend was not a very good weekend. We had no radios from Friday night till Monday night. We had to self-dispatch at Glen Station, the radio system on Tyrol. Had some issues.
Is that because of cold weather or
Well, we spent all weekend trying to figure that out, going up and down the mountain.
a couple times?
In the cold.
Well,
Long story short, we spent a lot of money this weekend. About $3,000 just on running around and repairs and labor and dispatching. When you find out, we think, we don't know 100%, but it's working right now. I think it's interference from the Mount Washington Observatory that is in the building. So hopefully we've solved the issue. It did generate a lot of discussion about what we do in an emergency if the system goes down and can't be immediately fixed. We thought it was a cold issue, weather related, but because the replacement radio we tried using also, and that didn't work. And that was up there in the building, so the temperature inside the building was negative 26.6 according to Washington Hobbs. The operations of the radio was negative 22 max, so, but it didn't, I don't think it was cold water, it was when we shut down Washington Hobbs, the radio system started working, so we're pretty confident that was the issue. But it did bring up a lot of other stuff.
Is that a frequency issue with it or?
RF, yeah, what it was is the short story is there's 3 radios that work in conjunction with each other for Carroll County Dispatch to be able to call the top of Tyrol, for Tyrol to be able to call back to them, and for Tyrol to be able to call our pages or our fire trucks. And one of those radios that calls our pagers and fire trucks wouldn't wouldn't function. So what that means is you call 911, it doesn't go through. Other than somebody like calling the dispatch, calling me by phone, or Rick by phone, or Jeff by phone. And then, so we had to set up dispatch at Glen Station so that Carroll County could call Glen Station. And then Glen Station, we have the ability from the fire stations to be able to tone out from there directly to the pagers. So we got that set up. That there was a lot of, we were worried it was a broken radio and if it was gonna take weeks to get parts for a radio, because both radios were down, both radio packs. We were gonna have some major issues, so it brought up a bunch of stuff about emergency functions and kinda put a bunch of stuff in fast forward.
In the limelight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened, I guess, in a really quick explanation.
So, if I could real quickly, I just want to say thank you for your immediate attention, but also thanks to all of the first responders that stepped forward and self-dispatched and were available to you guys. Also thanks to Gary for helping you get the radios back and forth.
Yep.
And then you had mentioned possibly coordinating with Mount Washington Ops to get reimbursed for some of the costs that we are going to incur or have incurred. And we'll work with that in the, moving forward. But that not being the biggest part, just now looking at what to do and how much money we're really gonna look at spending in the future.
Yep, we gotta, Mount Washington Observatory is supposed to look at they're shut off. They're supposed to look at their stuff this week, maybe Monday, try to figure out what may be the issue. And then my plan was to have us sit down with that person, with a few of us, to make sure they understand what that means when, because it's happened, it's not the first time it's happened with them.
Right.
You know, what that means. Like, it's not just a hobby, it's
Yeah.
something matter of EMS especially, I guess. So that's supposed to happen.
Could I just ask, at the moment, safety's not being compromised at all,
No,
right?
They're back
We're
working.
good.
we're back in
We're good shape.
operation, yeah.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, we spent $3,000 roughly,
Okay.
rough numbers. Between labor and repairs, and it's working.
But for now, we don't really know an infrastructure number that it will take, because you're still working on that. Okay.
It's working.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks, Rick.
So what it brought up was a couple things. We'd like to, we've got two radios, one that operates and one that's a spare. I'd like to maybe, it's kind of a discussion for the budget meeting, but I might as well bring it up now. Maybe throw some money on the Tyrol budget line item to be able to have some more antennas on the fire station to be able to take the, if we have the need to take the second radio and put it in line at the station, which is heated. And then that way Carroll County, in the event, could actually dispatch us automatically through the radio system. It may not hit everybody, all the members in town, but it would at least have a couple crews in emergency to be able to go. Because, you know, it's one thing to have a bunch of volunteer firefighters or EMS people do self-dispatching for a couple days, but if you have to wait weeks for parts,
Right.
that ain't gonna happen, and it becomes a real big issue.
And the
Because we don't
cost
have
of the
full-time
antenna.
staff that can sit
Yeah.
there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to self-dispatch. So I'd like to, I'm gonna, there's some money there for that. There's also some money that we wanna fast track the propagation study for future upgrades to the radio system that would definitely make it so, make this easier if we lose this, like, the future for it is multiple sites, having, instead of just having Tyrol, you'd have Tyrol, you'd have Oak Hill and Conway, and you'd have a site at the Attitash, and maybe another one. So if one of those sites goes down, the other ones would work. So, and it kind of bounces, it bounces around, so it gives everybody reception. EMS and Bartlett Fire had some major issues with
Little country.
Bartlett Park's location, with reception. But that's a whole nother, really a whole nother subject, other than I would like to have some money available in case we decide to do the propagation study.
And do we know what the cost of that is yet?
Yeah, I just got
You
it like 20
Okay.
minutes ago. It's total of $6,000, so it's $3,000 that we would pay for on that. The antennas for Jackson Fire, which would be, I would just, because they're gonna be bolted to the Jackson Fire Station, I'd rather have that be our cost, and we own them. That's, I wanna say I had $5,000 figured, there's a little extra there for that.
$5,000 is the budget number you're putting in, or
Yeah,
5 plus?
Plus 5. It's kind of a big item, so that's why it's up for discussion. It's a big jump for the Tyrol budget line item. And I might have had another $500 for whatever repairs need to be done from this weekend. The hard costs that we have to pay off the around electronics. So I had,
You had 5,000, it's bumped up now to 14,000,
I think so,
so
yeah.
9,000 more.
Yeah. And if we don't spend it, we don't spend it, and it goes back to you, but, so that was my issue for the weekend, and
And
that's, the budget changed a little bit this weekend.
Yeah.
and if we put an antenna on the fire station, it can be moved to another location if we
It could if
decide
we chose to,
needed
if we
to.
choose to put it at Glen, because that's better reception for emergency or whatever, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually 2 antennas,
Okay.
that's not just one, it takes 2. So we still gotta do a little bit of testing for that, but I'd at least love to have the money available in case we choose to go that route.
And then just, there have been quarterly radio meetings between Jackson and
I
Bartlett.
don't know if you call them quarterly,
Well,
but we've
sometimes
we've had meetings working, I call it, it's not really
Working
a
group.
committee, it's a working group.
Yeah. And so this has been discussed not just because of this weekend. The coverage study's been sort of on the radar for a couple months. It's nice that we finally have a dollar amount, but it's something that's been, we've been looking at this for months. because it needs
This
to be
weekend
done.
is fast tracked a couple of
Accelerated it,
things there.
yeah.
And, I lost my train of thought.
This is one of those, nothing so bad that something good doesn't come of it, that is, we know what we have to do to upgrade the system,
Yeah.
and make sure it works for everybody.
Something else I was gonna say. And of course, 3 weeks ago, we lost an antenna up there. You know, and this, all of this right here is all the repairs we've done over the years. And the amount that just, it's a remote location, remote spot, it's just, it's great for reception, but it's, you know, everything from rime ice to wind to just antennas take a severe beating up there.
So would we be able to, like, putting these other antennas, would we have to have that up there?
Yes,
We still would.
that would be just a backup plan, emergency. And we gotta have something, I guess. Just the weather's changed so drastically in the last five years that it's just getting the mess. As you guys, everybody knows, the weather's just freaking nasty all the time, it seems like. And there's another, oh, that's what I was gonna say. I think Jeff was trying to set up a meeting because of this weekend between all the selectmen, Bartlett and
Right.
Jackson. Because this definitely got some stuff, we got some really important stuff to go over, you know, especially about the future.
You see Jeff?
Jeff
Fire,
Bartlett.
fire
Chief
chief
over
over
there.
there. You know, there's some lots to discuss, so I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, but don't be surprised if you see an email with all the selectmen on the radio, so.
Well, thank you.
Thanks again.
Very good. Yeah, thanks, operating budget. We'll be talking to you again. Next up, we have Jerry Dougherty. He's going to talk to us a little bit about a seminar that we went to, or Zoom about voting machines and elections. We're looking at 2024. So I'll just let Jerry tell us firsthand what he heard.
Yeah, Saturday last, the state ran a 3-hour, ended up being Zoom because of the weather, meeting on election law changes, and then a 1-hour presentation by the town of Milford on the electronic voting tabulator machines. The state currently has authorized the use of one piece of equipment that is outdated, and they're no longer supporting it in terms of software or hardware. So they're in the process of selecting another piece of equipment. And they're actually looking at 3 with one that they're probably going to authorize the use of. And it's called an Image Cast Precinct 1, and it's approximately a box that's about 3 feet high, 18 inches wide, and about 3 feet long. And you slip your finished ballot into it, and it tabulates it. And the voter can see how they voted, I mean, that they have voted, and that their vote has been counted. The piece of equipment that they're probably going to recommend costs $5,000, and it's made by a company called Dominion. It's actually built in Texas, but distributed by a New Hampshire company called LHS. And the fellow that did the presentation was the town moderator from Milford, and they have 10,000 registered voters, so they have 3 machines to tabulate the votes. And in speaking with the clerk today and the moderator today, they're very pleased with the equipment. They feel that the state has told them that the equipment will be available for other towns after the next presidential primary. But the state is non-committal. However, the state, when I spoke to the Secretary of State's office today, they said if we would be interested in testing the equipment at no cost to us, that we could put in a request, and I did so today. Whether or not we'll be selected for a test site has yet to be seen, but I recommend that it's something that the town look into and move forward on.
So we get it free if we get chosen.
Yes.
Is there any way for us to grease the skids, so to speak? You know, we've
I
already
doubt
done
it.
No?
But I spoke to both the clerk and the moderator today, and the assistant clerk is a clerk in another smaller town, and they recently moved up to a tabulation machine, and they're a town about the size of Jackson, and they said they'd never go back now that they do it. Bartlett has been using one for about, I think, 6 years now. In fact, I helped them set it up when they first got it, and spoke with their clerk, and they're tickled with it, so it seems to be the way things are going, and I recommend that we do it as well.
So if we get picked as a test site and we can have it tested here at no cost, but then if we do want to implement it, we would
Yes,
purchase it then?
once the state recommends this piece of equipment, then we would have to buy it. They're actually testing 3 different types of equipment, with one that they are leaning toward using.
Mhm.
because of the ruggedness of it. It has a minimum 10-year lifespan, and the Dominion, who's the manufacturer, has guaranteed to support it for at least 10 years. And the state, this is a copy of it, it's 75 pages, put forth a whole series of questions on the equipment and the proprietariness of it and the type of voting things that you use for it. And they came back with very extensive, and it would take me 2 days to explain them all, but it's a very extensible piece of equipment.
And if we get this, and there'll be somebody here that first night that we use it, so
Yeah,
we have assistance, right?
There's about 30 pages of support and training that they go through.
Okay.
The actual, when we first did it with Bartlett, it took almost an hour to go through the setup process of it.
Mhm.
This takes about 20 minutes to go through the setup process of it. And it has a really nifty cover so that when you do get it set up to go for the voting thing, we can do it the day before. It has a cover that goes down and locks over it. And both the moderator and the clerk have 2 different keys and 2 different activation keys, so one of us can't, kind of like fair safe. But, it's coming, and I think we should be in line to avail ourselves of it.
Okay, we're gonna be ready. This is good. Thank you again, Jerry Doherty. Okay, next up, short-term rental applications. We have a violation that we have to deal with. The owners Thomas and Deborah Holcomb up in 12 Mill Mountain Trail. Apparently, they're advertising 4 bedrooms, and they actually have a septic system that's set up for 3 bedrooms. So we will send them the first warning, and if they don't adhere to that, then it goes to the second warning, which is a fine, and then goes beyond there, so.
If we have to make a motion to.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
go
just wanted
ahead,
to say that.
sorry.
But, why don't I make a motion that we send this violation notice to the owners, Thomas and Deborah Holcomb, control the Mountain Trail.
I'll
Thank-
second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Please tell me when that is. Okay.
And this property is currently on the market.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. And
So-
even the newspaper ad is not quite correct.
Right.
It says 3 bedrooms, but then it defines 4 different bedrooms
Mhm.
behind it, so.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we have
Thank you.
another 31D Wentworth Hall Avenue, Leo Road. She has submitted a conditional use permit that will be reviewed by the planning board on February 9th. So you'll see it, okay? And then this is one, Kevin, I think you might know a little bit more about this. I'm going to bring up about the Wildflower Lane denial.
Yeah, I left a message again for Monday, and I haven't heard back from them, but I'm gonna go there and do an inspection to see what the layout is.
I see it was denied for egress issue.
Yeah, they had bedrooms up in this loft, and they were gonna take them out, but they haven't sent us pictures of it yet or anything like that. And then we're kind of questioning, the layout where the other bedrooms are in the house.
Uh-huh.
So,
Not the one with the ceiling thing?
yeah.
So you're just waiting, you're going to work with the property?
Yeah, I will, yeah, but because I talked to him probably like 3 weeks ago about it, and he said, you want to do an inspection, give me a call. But at the time, he was gonna send us pictures to show the bedrooms were out of there, but he has not done that yet. So, we'll wait for the vote and all and see what's going on.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Building and driveway permits, approved building permits, a couple for Laguerre Morgan, R08 Lot 10-2, 470 Dana Place Road, demolish asbestos in 3 bathrooms. Kevin, a little help with this. When you're demolishing asbestos, isn't there certain safety
Yeah, that's what this is all about, because to remove the asbestos, he's having a company actually do it. It's just the
Yeah.
way it's worded, so, he was questioning that, and so they're gonna come in and remove that, and then he can continue on his, full building permit for the rest of the work.
Did you see, where is the asbestos? Is it around pipes or is it on walls?
No, it's the tiles, ceiling, I mean, it's the floor tiles.
Floor tiles.
Yep,
What is that?
nasty stuff.
How did we find out? I'm just curious.
Because he had a hunch that they were, and being dated from before, well, that place was built in like 1970 or something.
Yes,
We looked that up, which is
69
kind of
or
weird, because they started not putting those products, or asbestos in tiles at that time, so maybe he had like a really old batch or
An
whatever.
old batch, cheap batch.
Something, who knows, yeah. But,
It's an accident.
so,
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. And we also have, number 2023-07, Scott is the owner, R12, lot 11, 32 Adams Road, to install a 9.6 kilowatt solar array, 24 400W panels. They've been approved. So, Bill, you have anything to say about
no,
and solar and all that, or, okay. You wanna get into that? Okay. All right, well, I mean, this part of the meeting is going pretty quick, because right now I'm gonna tell you when the upcoming meetings are. And Tuesday, February 28th at 3:30, regular selectmen's meeting. And then, can you believe it? Town meeting dates, Tuesday, March 14th, Election Day, 8 AM to 7 PM at the Whitney Community Center, and Thursday, the 16th of March, day before St. Patty's Day, town meeting, 7 p. at the Whitney Community Center. And then upcoming meetings beyond that, Tuesday, March 28th at 3:30, Tuesday, April 11th at 3:30, and then Tuesday, April 25th at 3:30. It'll be spring. Isn't that nice? Any public comment before we adjourn this part of the meeting? Oh,
Just to comment on Jerry's presentation, that's great. As an assistant moderator and then moderator for roughly 34 years, the state and the federal elections is where that would really shine, when they get one that works. And some of you know, the moderator has to sign that certify the ballots, which means the check-in list, the checkout list, and the ballots have to match. And there's been times as late as 1:15 in the morning, and the help is, the wonderful volunteerism has dwindled down to a few. And I just want to say, I hope if this thing comes to light, the town, selectmen, whatever, would support it and do it, because it will save a lot of work, and a lot of headache, and be
yeah.
really good. You know.
As I say, Bartlett has been doing it for 6-7 years now, and I say,
And they do it in,
anything they can do, we can do.
yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Good job, Jerry.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, well, I'll make a motion to adjourn this selectmen's meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well,